Welcome back to Crossroads. We love hearing about organizations that are making a difference here in Grant County. Joining us today is Leslie Hendricks, the Executive Director of Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA, of Grant County. And from the name, you can obviously tell that it's something to do with courts, and I think specifically dealing with children. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, if we were to say CASA, what would that entail? What does that mean?
Court-Appointed Special Advocates is a nonprofit agency here in Grant County. We are volunteer-based, and we work with children who've been removed from their homes in abuse and neglect cases, all here in Grant County. So our volunteers bridge that gap between their home situation and what's happening there, and then what we need to do as a community to provide long-term permanent care for them. Our volunteers investigate every aspect of their case during the life of the case to give a report to the court, to the judge, as to what we find. It's an unbiased report. We are not there to make any decisions. We simply gather the information, provide that back to the court in conjunction with the Department of Child Services, and it's up to the judge then to make a decision on what's happening with this child.
Would it be fair to say you're not fulfilling the role of an attorney, but you're not really a counselor either? When you talk about gathering information, could you give us a little more details of what that means?
Absolutely, and as the name states, we're an advocate, and that's much different than a big brother, big sister role. It's obviously very different than being an attorney in the case. And we are not social workers. Each of our volunteers are just ordinary Grant County citizens that have been trained by us to do this work. What we do have in the state of Indiana is the right to be a party to the case. So in the state of Indiana, we are on the same level as a lawyer. We have access to all the information surrounding this child and their family. We can get medical records. We have access to school data. We have access to what is happening in the entire world that's surrounding this child. These cases are substantiated through the court system. They are civil cases within Grant County's courts, and these families are going through a myriad of services trying to get their lives back to an effective, healthy family. And during that time is when our volunteers are another individual in their lives that's just kind of directing where things need to go and just helping them get themselves back to an effective family again. So again, we don't make any decisions, and that can be a little daunting for some people who are thinking about possibly being involved. It's really off of our shoulders to make any decisions. We simply get the information, provide that to the court, and then they do with it what they will.
So providing that information, finding information about those needs, what does that look like here in Grant County?
It is a very large task. Oftentimes these families are involved in multiple services. They could have situations ranging from mental illness to drug and alcohol abuse. Obviously most of our children are school-aged, so we have all of the services that are going on in schools. We are needing to talk to sometimes law enforcement, sometimes the therapists that are involved with the family. So it involves talking to a lot of people and gaining a lot of information through documents that are also through Department of Child Services. Everything we do is confidential. I have the utmost confidence in our volunteers that they understand that piece. Obviously, we're dealing with a very volatile situation and a very personal situation with these children's lives. And it is very much ingrained in our volunteers throughout the training. The confidentiality is of utmost importance. So through gathering the information, it's all kept within our agency and the courts and the services that are being provided, and we keep it forever.
It sounds so daunting, but I know there are people in our audience and people in this community who step up to those challenges.
Yes.
What's the motivation that keeps you getting more volunteers? What is the sort of the victory that you see in that difficult process?
And that's a very good point. It is a difficult process, and I never want to shadow that for a volunteer, because it is probably the most involved volunteer position you could ever take on. Most of our volunteers come to us wanting to give back to the community. Many of our volunteers have had something in their own life along the way that has led them to want to do this for someone else. Often the motivation is strictly the love for children. and the love for our community and really wanting to help families become whole again. So that's, and then on the flip side of that, many of our volunteers explain to us at the end of a case that it's really the most rewarding thing that many of them have done other than raising their own children. To know that you have truly made a difference on a fundamental level in a child's life is something that they find great reward in, and it kind of makes the rest of it that has been a little dicey sometimes seem all worthwhile.
It is so difficult navigating the system. It's nice to know that you guys are there trying to at least make some sense of it. I'm sure that there are more discouraging days than encouraging ones, but
you know, I
good
really
that you're
don't
out there.
feel that way, though.
Good.
It's really amazing to be part of something on both sides of it, because with all of the tragedy that we know about, we have that balanced out with people who are saying, you know what, I can do this, and I care enough to put myself in this position. So we really try to empower our volunteers and stay on that positive side as much as we can. And it really seems to, like I said before, overshadow some of the other things that we know are hard to deal with.
Right.
Well, a great opportunity for people to get involved in Grant County or potentially to use as a service. So
Absolutely.
thanks.
Thank you.
If you are interested in learning more about CASA or want to get involved, you can get a hold of them by calling 664-1891 or sending them an email at casa@grantcounty.net. You can also check them out on Facebook. Thanks so much again, Leslie.
Thank
It's
you.
the great work that you do.